Hi, my name is Julius, and I would like to tell you something about the carbon footprint of cryptocurrencies. One example for cryptocurrencies is Bitcoin, and as you might have heard, El Salvador introduced Bitcoin as an official paying method in their country. Also, Tesla decided to offer their customers the possibility to pay their cars with Bitcoin for a short period of time before they realized what huge impacts on the environment cryptocurrencies can have. So let's take a closer look at this problem. Before we get to the environmental consequences of cryptocurrencies, I would like to give you some more information about cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin. Cryptocurrencies are generated by computers using the blockchain technology. That is a decentralized peer-to-peer network where each participant provides processing power to the network. Cryptocurrencies are only a digital medium of exchange and have a limited supply. For example, bitcoins are limited to 21 million bitcoins. Fiat currencies, as a comparison, for example the euro or the dollar, are issued by governments or central banks. They are controlled in a centralized way, and they also offer a physical medium of exchange. And in theory, fiat currencies have an unlimited supply, depending on the strategies of the governments or the central banks. Next, I would like to introduce you to the blockchain technology. In general, the blockchain itself is powered by a decentralized network of computers that provide processing power. But there are different concepts of blockchain technologies, and I would like to first concentrate on the proof of work technologies. Here, the blockchain consists of multiple blocks that each contain multiple transactions. Each block needs to be verified by solving a mathematical puzzle, and whoever solves the problem first will get a reward, for example a certain amount of bitcoins, and the block is stored in the public blockchain. Therefore, to manipulate the blockchain and transactions, you would need 51% of the processing power of the whole network to outperform all competitors in solving a puzzle. Although this procedure is very safe because it is quite unlikely that one participant has 51% of the processing power, it is also very inefficient because of a lot of processing power is used to solve the same puzzle. It is no surprise that all this processing power requires a lot of energy to run. And although this seems to be quite an easy question to answer, it is indeed very difficult in practice to determine the exact energy consumption of the whole network, for example, of the Bitcoin blockchain. To determine the energy consumption of the network, you would need to know about every single computer in the network. Since the network is decentralized, this is nearly impossible. To solve that problem, scholars decided to take sales figures of computer manufacturers who produce specialized mining hardware to estimate the size of the network and the amount of processing power. Based on that, they took the fact sheet of the computers to calculate the overall power consumption of the network. But it does not end there if you want to estimate the environmental impact of cryptocurrencies. To estimate the carbon footprint of cryptocurrencies, you need to know where the computers of the network are located, because it is heavily dependent on the location, how much CO2 was emitted during the production of electricity. So now let's get to some numbers. In this figure you can see the results of different studies that try to estimate the power consumption of the Bitcoin mining network. And as you can see, there's a huge variance in the results because it is so hard to determine this number. On the right, you can see a point marked with this study that lies in the middle of the results for November 2018. And they came to about 8,000 megawatts for a day in November, and added up to a whole year, this gets to an annual power consumption of more than 40 terawatt hours. As a comparison, Austria, for example, used about 65 terawatt hours in 2020. But as mentioned before, power consumption is not the whole story. As long as bitcoins are mined with clean energy, it wouldn't be such a big problem, although it's still inefficient. But scholars also tried to estimate the carbon footprint of Bitcoin. to the result that Bitcoin is responsible for about 51 megatons of CO2. Again, compared to Austria, this is a lot, which emitted 73 megatons of CO2 in 2020. In a world where climate change is one of the biggest problems, this seems quite unnecessary, so it might be useful to look at other solutions. And there we come to the graphic from the beginning. A more sustainable alternative to proof-of-work concepts, as used in Bitcoin, are proof-of-stake concepts. Here the blockchain is the same and consists of blocks and transactions, but the difference is that the computers aren't competing in solving a puzzle, but transactions are assigned to certain network members who are responsible to handle the transaction. This means that the overall processing power of the network is used much more efficiently. Still, proof-of-stake concepts provide much security because to manipulate the blockchain and to insert malicious transactions, a user would need 51% of the cryptocurrency's market capitalization, and this is quite unrealistic because big cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin have a market capitalization of over $900 billion. So even the richest in the world couldn't afford that. So if you ask me, cryptocurrencies and other areas of applications of the blockchain technology are definitely here to stay and might become very helpful in the future. But to make the technology future-proof, it is important to make it more sustainable. Therefore, it might be helpful to switch to more sustainable concepts such as the proof of stake instead of the proof of work concept. Also, governments could make it more interesting to switch to more sustainable concepts by introducing transaction taxes that tax the CO2 that is emitted for a transaction. But what do you think about cryptocurrencies? Do you own, for example, Bitcoin? And what do you think about the environmental footprint of it? Thanks for your attention, and I hope you liked my presentation.